Welcome, everyone, to It's Time to Excel. I am just so honored and grateful to have my friend Susan Watson here. She's like a sister. She absolutely is. And it's been amazing the journey that we have been on lately. And for those of you who are going to come in here and join us, because it is your time to excel. And we are going to inspire and ignite the possibilities that are all around you. And that's our purpose and our passion here on It's Time to Excel. Is how can we help you to excel in your business, maybe even in your personal life too, because often they like to mirror one another. But we're going to focus on the business side today. And Susan is here to tell us about a very important topic, one very near and dear to my little heart here, because I am at that catch-22 phase where I'm in a hamster wheel and I can't seem to get out. My business is growing. Fabulous. The only problem is there's still only 24 hours in the day. So that is what we're going to talk about, is how can we leverage our time? So Susan, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Why don't you say hi to the audience, and as people come in, make sure you drop in the chat. Let us know that you're here. And for those who watch the replay, go ahead and still drop it in the chat. We'd love to connect with you. So tell us a little bit, Susan, about what we're going to talk about, leveraging time.
Time is a really hard topic, I think. I deal with it every day. We all do, and there's never enough of it.
No.
It's kind of, you get the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds. It's either your best friend or it's your worst enemy when you look back at what you did yesterday and you didn't get to everything on your list, right?
My problem is my list got longer.
That was kind of shorter. My day went yesterday as well.
It's amazing how that happens. I don't know about you, but I haven't figured out how to get more 24 hours in a day. Some days I want it. Most days I'm like, am I nuts?
I don't think it's going to be that way. I think we just have to decide how we're going to use those 24 hours.
And I'm going to guess you have some tips around that and how we can really start maybe thinking a little differently. Because I'm finding myself, I've got so much on my hit list that I start one thing, I start over here, I go over here, the dog barked, the doorbell rang. And all of a sudden, now it's 6 o'clock at night, and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten yet.
I read a blog post the other day that just really jumped out at me. And the words in it, they talked about this time factor. And they said, when you look at what you do all day long, we do a lot of work about work. Not the real work, right?
That's true.
It's all about the work that we do. So when I come into the office every day, I'm checking the emails, I'm managing multiple people, I'm coordinating events, I'm looking at programming, just all of these different pieces of work about work.
Yeah, but not doing the work. It's still there. That's a great point.
And when you get home or at the end of the day and you look at what you've got done, that's the reason those things aren't getting checked off, is because you've been managing all these multiple facets of the business and juggling.
And that's what I feel like most days, is all I am is a big juggler. And all of a sudden I'm afraid everything's going to be crashing down. And sometimes that's when it happens that you realize you need help. Because I don't know about you, but I can only juggle for so long till my hands give out or I misstep somewhere because I'm too tired. And
I think I'm a micromanager. My team will tell you I don't let go of things. I'm one of those people. In fact, there's my blog on my website is called Confessions of a Micromanager, and
I encourage folks. Check that out, and they can find that on delegatingforsuccess.com. Correct? That is out there.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. That's a great one, because it's very true. And I think we're all like that.
It's about trust.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to do something. We can do it faster. It's much easier than teaching somebody else how to do it. If we just do it ourselves, that goes through my mind every day. I'll just do it myself because it's going to take me too long to teach somebody else how to do it. But at the end of the day, we're exhausted because we're holding on to too many things.
So how do we let go? How do we do this? I mean, I struggle with it, and that's what we were talking about. I'm so grateful you are, because you're slapping me upside the head and saying, hey, think about it this way. And that's what I needed. And that's what I'm thinking some other small business owners might be in the same boat that I'm in.
So by day, I'm the director of the Women's Resource Center here in Alamance County. Delegating for Success is my business. I'm a small business owner, so I too am juggling. And the quote that we use here every day is by Arthur Ashe, and it's start where
Ah,
you are, use what you have, do what you can. And I think it applies almost in every situation, but it especially applies to delegating and to running a business, to managing a team. You have to start where you are. You don't have to completely reorganize everything all at once, all at one time. Start small. Start with the things that you either don't like to do, you don't enjoy doing, or maybe you're really not good at them, but you feel that you have to do them anyway. Start small. That's always my first bit of advice.
and I appreciate that. And I think that is really hard. And I'm pretty good at, I thought I was a pretty good delegator. And for the most part, I think I'm okay with that. But it's been a challenge in the virtual world because when I managed a staff, I was right there with them in the middle of it with them. And now as a small business owner, that's kind of shifted a little bit. And I think that's a great point that you brought up is starting small. And that's what you challenged me to really think about. Okay, well, instead of thinking the big picture of how to get from A to B to C to D, what is just step A? What is one piece of this client that you could repeat for every single client? Because doing bookkeeping and doing accounting, there is some repetition there. So
There,
figuring out
there's a
that
lot,
piece.
and one of the things that I struggle with, we have a board of directors that has 20 people on it, and keeping everybody headed the same direction
Mm-hmm.
is challenging. We have committees, we have committee chairs,
Sure.
and every piece of information that comes in, I have to think, okay, who needs to know this? What's the easiest way to get it to them? How do you communicate? And I think delegating is, you could change that word to communication, because that's really what it's about. It's
That makes sense.
communicating about the work that needs to be done. And so you've got to set up systems for those repetitive tasks so that everybody knows who's doing what.
And sometimes it's a challenge. And I think if we got to have the right tools in our tool belt. I often talk about that. QuickBooks can be the best tool in your tool belt, or it can be your worst nightmare if
Right.
it's not done right. And you and I have had those conversations, and it's like, yeah, whoa. You start looking and like, wait, things are back. Wait, time out.
Yeah.
You
You
start,
open the books and you go, oh my gosh.
yeah, one big negative, like, $75,000, and all of a sudden, I'm like, there's no way you're that far in the hole, or you would not still be in business. And it's just a bookkeeping issue because they didn't realize what to do.
But it's still a communication issue,
Bingo.
because you've got a small business owner who has got to think about every receipt transaction that comes in,
Yeah.
every invoice that's got to be sent out so that they can get paid. Um, I work with virtual assistants, and they're subcontractors. So they, in their own
Yeah,
right, are small business owners.
absolutely.
And my first question is, did you invoice your customer last week for the work that you did? Because your money's not gonna, as you say, where did it
Doesn't
go,
spend.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't spend itself, but where
It,
did it go?
it doesn't spend itself, but did you invoice it so that it
Mhm.
continues to come in? And it's those little pieces that for your clients with bookkeeping can pretty much be outsourced.
Yeah.
um, Email management, database management, social media, those things that just drive you crazy, they can be outsourced. And here's an interesting thought:
Okay.
outsourcing or delegating to somebody else actually empowers them to grow and learn and,
Interesting.
and develop. So, the business model for delegating for success is entrepreneurs supporting entrepreneurs.
That makes sense. And that's exactly what we're looking for is how can we support one another?
Right. It's
And
about
social media.
collaboration.
Absolutely. And social media, that's one of the biggest things that's a great option. I personally, I that is one that I have gotten off my because I can go down rabbit holes really well. And
It's
I don't have
easy to
time
do.
to go down rabbit holes. No, I just stay out of it.
You get a creative side,
Mhm.
even you with all of your
Oh yeah.
business mindset and everything. But if Janet, you get in Canva and start
Oh, I have
playing
a blast.
around with it, then you've wasted a bunch of time,
Oh
right?
yeah. And I will, and I know that about me because that's my fun side. And I think as entrepreneurs, we end up getting into that too, and then we get into those rabbit holes. So, what are the rabbit holes that we get into? Social media is a great one. The bookkeeping, get the support that's going to help you get and actually get the procedures in place, that system in place to be able to do that. You challenged me. I said, okay, what can we do? Well, coding of receipts is the same no matter which book I'm in, no which matter which client.
Right.
Start small. And I don't know that I had been thinking of it that way because I was so used to in the corporate world where everybody had their little part because of segregation of duties, and I was at the banking, and like there was a lot of rules and regs that had to play into that I couldn't sometimes do pieces of it. I
Right.
had to bring in some others. Whereas as a business owner, we get to do it all, but we can't do it all. That's the problem.
I think that's the thing, I want to work with those entrepreneurs who they may not be ready to hire an employee yet and have them
Exactly.
there 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week or even 40 hours a week. And that's why I say start small. Start with small projects that you can hand off. You can have some communication back and forth about it. You can't just dump something on somebody without some training and some guidance
You
because
mean they can't read my mind?
they cannot read your mind, Janet. There's no way they can read your mind.
That'd be scary.
So you've got to set up little checkpoints, for them
Okay.
to report back and say, hey, did you get this? How many times do you send an email to somebody
They don't get
and
it.
you want to move it? The reason you sent it, you want to move that out of your inbox, but I can't let go of it until I know they got it, right?
Well, we ran into that earlier because the system said it sent this email link even for us to join here, and my system said it went, so I didn't question it.
It
The
wasn't
problem is
coming
it didn't make it.
right. And so the micromanager in me, if I send an email to my team, I can trust that they've got it and that they're working on it. But if they
Mhm.
don't let me know that, I'm going to keep it in my inbox and I'm going to wonder and wonder until I reach back out and go, hey, did you get this?
Yeah.
And it probably drives them nuts. But they know that gremlins get into the computer system and they snag things from you. And
They
you
do.
really don't know if your email to somebody got caught up in their spam folder. You really don't know that unless they communicate back with you and say, hey, I got it. I'm on it. I'll follow up with you on
Mhm.
Thursday. It's about communication.
It is, and that's one of the nice things working with delegating for success is we've ran into that where the gremlins took the emails and we have no idea where these crazy things went because I've got a whole list of them that says it goes. Gmail says it went. The gremlin said nope, it's mine. So that's one thing it's like we're doing is I know that you got because you're saying received or
Right.
got it or
Yeah.
something. And that is a great point is that communication. How can we
Yeah.
do that? And for you, those that have joined us in here, drop in the chat. What are some of the areas that you need help in? Where do you think you could start to delegate? Start thinking about that. And what are some of those things? And I'll kind of keep up with the chat here because I can see it on my side and kind of go from there. But we'd love to have your input. There's a few of you here that are joined us. So what can you do? Is it social media? Is it bookkeeping? Is it something totally different? What would be helpful for you as we're going? So as we're doing this, you said start small. So we kind of talked a little bit about that. Any other tips that you can think of? So we're starting small. We're getting our minds thinking because if we want to be successful and we want to excel and we want to grow our business, I'm guessing time management, we're going to have to get this under control. Just like our money, we got to get under control.
Another thing that I've run into with small business owners is we are embarrassed because we don't want to we appear organized, but maybe we don't want somebody to see our stuff, right, until we get it all caught up.
And
And
it's never all caught up.
that's really what Janet is awesome at. And it doesn't matter. She has no judgment. She will look at the set of books and make some suggestions and help people get back on track if they're not on track. And it doesn't matter if it's your personal finances or your business finances. And I think getting out of our own head is the next step, and admitting you need another set of hands. If it's and try not to think about it as I've got to pay somebody for 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. Think about it as a small project. And if I get this off my plate, what is that going to do for me? What am I going to do with that time? And as you test it, if just do little small tests with it, let go of something, have some feedback about it, follow up, and then tee up the next thing and let that go. And as you're building that habit, you're building that delegating muscle, really. And then you start to think that way. What else can I let go of, right?
Well, then it gets exciting because now I can actually maybe sleep for a change.
Right.
And that's what ends up happening is, I don't know about you, but my brain forgets to shut off because I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't get to this, I didn't get to that. So my brain's still going, which means I'm trying to wind down, and I'm not winding down very well because my brain's still going 110 miles an hour.
Yeah,
And
I confessed to you a little while ago I'd been up since 4 a.m. this morning.
right, yeah, your day's already done.
Yeah, the switch came on. And I think it's important to, everybody's heard, the tip that when you can't sleep at night, put a piece of paper beside your bed and a pen and write down whatever's running through your head and then go back to sleep. I think you should have a let it go list on your desk, on your, beside your bed, wherever you are, so that as that little thought crosses your mind, could I let this go? I need to check.
And odds are you probably could.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as we're thinking about that, let it go list, that's what I'm going to put in here. Let it go list. And start identifying what those are. What can we truly let go of?
Right.
And it is hard. It really is hard because I'm like, well, and I think we've run into that too. And you see that even with kids, and I'm kind of thinking about, I'll just do it myself. As Kyle was little, when they're little, they want to help you. The problem is usually end up redoing it. But if you don't let them help you, how do they ever learn? And my husband and I were kind of yipping about that back and forth. That's not been one of his strong points. Is his reaction is, I'll just do it myself. I'm like, stop it. And this came up because they talked him into this driving job that he has now. He's actually a trainer, which is kind of fun.
Right.
And I'm like, for someone who is a loner, been in a truck on his own for, 30 years, to be having a trainer, he's like, I'm not a trainer. But the crazy part is he's very good at what he does. And he's relatively patient for the most part, which is comical. But he doesn't view himself as that. And well, instead of viewing it just like you've been teaching me, what little parts can you get him started with?
Right.
And start small. And let them try.
Yeah, I was out of town last week and literally sitting on top of a mountain in Western North Carolina. And my team handled everything. I was just watching emails go by. It was one of the best experiences I've had in quite some time, especially given COVID. And business owners have to think about how important it is for the business to run without them, right? It's about
very thought.
building something that goes on after you. And unless you start to learn to let things go and empower other people, it's not going to grow. You're not going to be able to scale because you can only get so many balls in the air, right?
That's absolutely true. And as I said, there's still only 24 hours in the day. And bottom line is, some of those you've got to get some rest, or you're not going to be any good for anybody else. I had to learn that the hard way more than once, but yeah, sometimes it takes a slap upside the head.
It does, and you hope you don't get there. I think a really great goal of mine has been to take a quarterly retreat all by myself, to either just total downtime or away from the business to work on the business. Different people do different things. Sunday planning is a big thing of mine, because I think it's really one of the things about delegating is you can't wait till the last minute to delegate. You've got to be 3 steps ahead of the people that you're delegating to, minimum. You've got to pre-think what they're going to need in order to get to the outcome that you want to have. So you've got to have that plan time. And sometimes Sunday afternoon's a great time to do that.
That's a great point.
It,
And one thing that I'll do on Sundays is I started back time blocking because I do really well for a while. Then I'm like, well, it's working, so why do I continue it? And then all of a sudden chaos hits again. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go back to that. But the time blocking for me has been a huge benefit where I do it Sundays before I jump into this mess so that I can plan out that week, but I do it in chunks of time. So I know I'm going to work on clients during 2 to 4 this one. I know I'm going to meet with this client over here. And then I have to hold that time just like I would at a doctor's appointment, because I'll be here and I'll get 5 phone calls between now and then. I can fit it in.
That's a great point. And one thing that I've seen other entrepreneurs do is they'll honor other appointments on their calendar, but they don't honor the ones with their team. And they'll schedule something else over a regularly scheduled team meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you lose ground.
Absolutely.
Our team comes together at 12:30 on Mondays. That's what we do. And we're just regrouping. Everybody's just connecting in to make sure that we're on the same page. We know what each other's working on. We're not working in silos. I think that's important, whether it's a remote team or you've got people in your office.
Exactly. Well, and it's hard because, those little gremlins like to pop up over your shoulder. And if you don't even realize the gremlin got into the mix of it, what do you do?
Right.
I know in my household, I keep trying to tell, Bear, I'm like, would you quit bringing him home to play with them? Because every time I turn around, there's something else. But I think that's so common with life right now, is we just don't know what gremlin's lurking around or, just going to be coming up and sitting right on your lap, because it's going to happen.
Right.
And how do you work through it? You're not going to ever get every single thing. You're going to try to plan. You have a starting point, but the reality is some things are going to come up. And if you're not communicating, you're not honoring that time with your team.
Right.
How can you ever overcome that and make it go forward? You can't. You're going to get stopped eventually. You're going to hit a brick wall eventually.
Well, if you're not communicating with your team, they're going to be stuck. They're going to have questions that you're not answering, and the work will stop. And that, I think that's really important to think about, is the communication between your team and your clients, whoever they are, has to be paramount.
And very much top of mind, and making that conscious effort, because it is very easy to get sidetracked. I'm going to put communication as number one. It is so easy in today's world to get sidetracked somehow, some way. And that's been a tough thing for me. But I know going back to that time blocking, going back to saying, okay, here's the times that I'm going to do. And then I can open up a calendar. I can take it a step further now to make it easier for folks to connect with me. I open up certain times of my calendar for client calls. Hey, you want to reschedule? There's your time frame, first come, first serve.
Right.
I don't have to go figure out what works for them. They can go jump into the calendar. It's a tool to be automated. So if you do something like that and you figure out how that can work out, then you can start almost keeping things more organized and taking a little bit of stress off the plate too. At least that's something I have learned. What else do you think? And what else can we do here? Because this has just been great. I mean, there's been so many things. The quarterly retreat's a great idea, just to escape. That's fabulous. And I need to start incorporating that. I don't know about you guys that are watching. What are you guys going to do for your quarterly retreat? Let's at least throw one out there, see what we've got out there.
Sure.
What can we do? Because it's that re-energizing. It's that regrouping. It's that everything else, so that we can be our best selves. Because you can only go so long before it's not your best self anymore and go from there. And of course, communications. What other tips or tools can we be thinking of since we're juggling so many balls?
I think it's about really looking at the priorities for each day. If you're on Sunday and you're looking at the week, you've got to think about the top three things that have to get done in the week, and then you do the same thing for each day, or um, they will not happen. For me, I'm a morning person. It's got to get done in the morning because I start fading about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And there, you have to recognize too, especially with your work, Janet, you can only spend so many hours a day in bookkeeping on a computer,
Yeah.
um, and
Before your eyes
really,
go funny.
yeah, and focused. I think that's really important. When is your best working time, and how do you, like you were talking about, how do you time block that so that you're actually getting work done, not just the work about the work?
And recognize that because each person's different.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your best time to work? And, recognizing when you are the most alert, most whatever you want to say,
Most
kind of a
productive.
deal.
Yeah, most productive.
Productive. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm like, I can't get the right word in here to type in here. But that is it because, and I'm also a morning person too. I'm done by evening. Yep, we've got some other ones. I see some hearts coming up there. Yep, we must either have some mornings or afternoons too, but I'm getting some other morning birds. But it depends. Like I live with two night owls.
Yeah, I do too.
And I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, you have a night owl too.
Actually have two of them, and they know that when it hits 9 o'clock, man, that's my time. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not very friendly when it comes to
I have no either.
and they look at me like at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. I can get up 4 or 5 and be fine. And they're like, "How are you so happy this time of the morning?"
That's right.
Probably the same reason you're happy at like I don't know midnight, 1 o'clock when I cannot even function anymore.
That's true.
It's really interesting. Absolutely. Thank you, Melinda. That's one of she's agreeing. She's more of our night owl. And kind of going from there. But recognizing that I think is very, very important. And I agree completely. And this has just been phenomenal. And can you believe it's been about 30 minutes that we
Yay!
have been talking? But this is just such a valuable topic that we, really taking a look at that. And I know that I'm experiencing this really big time. I've been so blessed with the business growing. But the flip side to that, it's growing, but there's still only 24 hours in the day. And that truly has been a challenge for me in that hamster wheel and working.
You can't grow without help.
Yeah.
You need a community, and you need people that you need a board of advisors,
Mm-hmm.
but you also need people that you can hand off things to that have your back and that
Exactly.
leverage your time for those more important tasks. So I would just encourage your audience to build their let it go list and think about
Perfect.
what's possible.
Yeah. And that truly is what it is. So as Susan said, take advantage of that. Go start building that let it go list so that you can reach out and check out delegatingforsuccess.com as well. It is a great blog on the micromanager because I think most entrepreneurs are probably micromanagers. It's just because that's how things work.
Right.
So start thinking about that and figuring out how you can start to let it go and just take that one small step because every step forward, you're going in the right direction. And you might have to take 100, but who cares? You're still
Right.
going to get there. And I think that's so important for folks. And that's what I encourage them on the finances. Just take one step, one small change. So I need to apply that same thought process to my time and figure out how to leverage that and start working with that because it is our time to excel. And that's what this is all about, inspiring and igniting the possibilities that are so around us that we're too busy to see. So thank you so much, Susan, for joining. Is there any last minute thoughts you want to throw out there in our
Um,
last minute?
the only thing I'd say is start where you are.
Okay. So that's what we're going to encourage you right now, today. Start where you are. Start getting that stuff written down. Start getting it so you know what that list is going to be so that you too can excel, because it is definitely your time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you here next week. We are here every Wednesday at 11:30, and of course, next week is our Lunch and Learn, so make sure you go check that out. We'd love to have you here, and just tune in every week at 11:30 because we want you to excel, and we can do that by inspiring and igniting the possibilities. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks, Janet.
Susan, for
Thank you.
joining me, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a good one.
Bye.